This is Gary Zaleski, the host of The Gary Zaleski Show, the podcast for those who want to discover that human fuel called passion and build the life they have always wanted to live. I've been a professional speaker, author, and licensed minister for over 30 years, helping people professionally and personally who are tired of being stuck in the pursuit for something more. My wife calls me the human defibrillator because I jumpstart tired hearts and those minds that have checked out. I want you to become emotionally and financially profitable without sacrificing your faith or family. This show, it's all about the people I've connected with all over the world. People who have changed my life with their resiliency to never, ever quit. Shared moments that became lessons learned and laughter that took my breath away. Join me now in discovering the life you have always wanted to live. All right, welcome to the Z-Bomb podcast. I am so excited, and I really mean this, to bring on, I don't even know, man, a friend, but it goes so much deeper than that. Eddy Umeh. Now, Eddy, let's get the white elephant out of the room right now. Okay, because I know people who are watching right now, they're looking at me, they're looking at you, and they're thinking to themselves this, hey, wait a minute. Eddy is so much younger than Gary, okay? Listen, welcome to the Z-Bomb podcast, man. How are you this morning?
I have zero complaints, man. I'm so happy to finally have made it on here.
So you and I, man, so much history. And because of my lack of ability to remember yesterday, okay, I want you to be my memory today. Let's talk about when you and I first met. Tell me a little bit about that.
My first time meeting Gary has got to be when we were at, Pastor Scott used to do the morning Bible studies with the guys.
Yeah.
And we would, I'd go over there and I'd see this guy on the other side and he would be giving all this information. And I really think that you were talking about how like you kind of coach people and everything like this. And I'm like, oh, I need that in my life.
Wow.
And I remember the first time you agreed to meet with me, you were like, okay, we got to meet here at Panera Bread at this time and so on and so forth. And I showed up with a notebook and a pencil and you were like, okay, maybe you're serious about this. And then it evolved into those morning Bible studies in the life-size dollhouse. Yeah. And then from there, it was history.
So for our audience members who have no idea what we're talking about right now, bring them into speed. When Eddy first showed up, and this is a Z-Bomb for all of you who are listening right now, you see, we think that a dream catcher is the thing with feathers. Hey, that could be a dream catcher. But I believe the dream catcher is a pencil and paper. I believe when you write something down, you can revisit it. And when you revisit it, you can retool it. So when you showed up with a notebook and a piece of paper and a pencil, and you were ready to write and you were becoming a student, you caught my undivided attention. Because most people, they want to be part of a conversation, but they don't want the conversation to be changing them or looking for any nuggets along the way. So when you first showed up, man, I was like, all right, this guy, he's got some stuff. And then in my backyard, I had this dollhouse built for my daughter, but it was a 140 square foot dollhouse. And I said to you, and I remember this, I said, if you want to meet with me and you're this young punk millennial, right? And I thought, if I can kick this guy, right? If I can hurt him, I'll have him get up at the butt crack of dawn, come to my house and sit in that dollhouse with me. And that's where everything started. And bro, you made it. You did it. You came, you showed up, and you were ready. And how long did we meet for?
You know what? Today is actually my birthday, Gary.
Eddy, this is your birthday today?
Today is actually my birthday.
And I should have known that, being your father, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, do we reveal the age today?
We can do
okay,
that.
Wow.
I
20
turned
what? You're what, 23,
I
24?
turned
Where are you?
36 today.
36 years old.
Mhm.
Well, I'd sing happy birthday, but I don't think the listeners would just like find that significant.
We'll save
Okay.
it for it was a different video.
Happy birthday, my friend. I can't think of a better time to talk to you than on your birthday. So we're in that dollhouse. I think we met in my backyard for a year or so, or
Yeah.
was it at least that long?
At least that long, because I remember it's right. I was still, trying for football and doing all this stuff, and yeah, it was a long time of waking up in the morning and driving across town to be in that dollhouse, man. But I would not trade it for anything. So
Well, I'll tell you what, your commitment, and I want to talk about commitment really quick as well, because your commitment to being there once a week, every morning to meet with me, you never were late, bro. I'm telling you, you showed up on time, but you didn't just show up. You were ready to rock. That's been kind of your story, is that the story of opposition hitting you, slapping you around a little bit, and then you getting back up. Now, let's talk about football, because there's some listeners here that's going, oh, football. Okay, I got that going on. You're actually pursuing a career in football, am I right?
I was pursuing a career, and I got an opportunity to play professional football for like, I don't know, 7, 8 years or something like that. And so I played way longer than I probably should have, man. I was definitely like the grandpa on the football field.
Where were you playing?
I played in the Arena Football League. That's most of my football. I played CFL in Canada, and so just various other tryouts with professional teams. So it took up, the beginning of my adulthood was all football.
I remember you and I talking. You would say, "Man, I'm a football guy, not okay. I'm not what you call real sportsy, okay." And you would be talking football, and I'm trying out here, and I got this agent calling me here, and I got this going on here, and hey, I'm coming on. And all I kept saying to you is, what is the passion? What do you really want? What do you want to happen? What do you want to pursue? And I remember, you always had these goals, these dreams that you went after. But early in the conversation, I remember you saying to me, well, I've always thought about being a doctor. And when you dropped that bomb on me, I was like, wait a minute. He wants to be a doctor and he's playing arena football. Okay, where's the connection?
Mixed along those conversations are, you're how old and you still live with your mom and like all these other things and stuff like that. But yeah, we definitely had those conversations. And I think for me, it's just maybe lucky enough to the parents that I have that there was all like these blinders on my eye. Just whatever you look at, if you try hard enough, you could get it. So my mom made me play football one day. Like, she made me play football. Like, you're too big to be at home.
Your mom made you play football.
She made me try everything. So that was one of the things she tried, and it stuck. Like, one season of actually trying to play in 10th grade. Because in 9th grade, I thought I was going to do it, and they gave me my pads, and I didn't know what it was. I looked in the bag, threw it in the closet, never went back. And 10th grade, my mom was like, no, you're going to do this, right? And so I sucked for the majority of my football, stint. And it wasn't until like way, way, way back when I was just about to finish college when I got good. But I think even before that, 6 years old, my dad would be like, what do you want to be? And before me, my sister, anybody could answer, he'd stop us and be like, hey, you can be anything you want, but it has to be serious.
Z-Bomb, we just dropped it, okay? Sure. You could be anything you want, but you have to be serious. That's powerful, bro, right there.
It reminds me actually of one of your exercises that you gave me, man. It was for me to write down my perfect day, but it had to involve work.
It had to be an occupation.
Yeah.
You had to be creating some kind of finances in your perfect day. How did that speak to you?
It's so crazy to be in the space that I'm at, because up until now, top of this second, I forgot about that exercise. But like now in the space that I'm at, all those, what I wrote down on that paper, it's like coming like back, like, oh, it's like way more in reach now, because at that point in time, It was literally just like a fairy tale that I was making up on a piece of paper. And I had something about like looking out my window and there's water and the beach. And now I'm going to medical school in Southern California and the beach is really down the street.
We don't understand sometimes, Eddie, that when we write things down, we have a greater chance of them becoming a possibility. It's like when you ask somebody if they're going on vacation and they go, yeah, I'm going. I'm going to go on vacation. I really am. I'm going to go. I'm going to go. And you go, well, when are you going to go on vacation? Well, soon, probably a month, 2 months. We've got some things going on. Well, where are you going? I don't know, but someplace really nice.
Right.
In reality, they're not going. In reality, that vacation it's the person you ask, hey, when you on vacation? Oh, we're going in 5 weeks. We got it on our calendar. Oh, where are you going? We're going to go to place. The more exact we can make that perfect day and writing, the more of a possibility it has of becoming a reality. Maybe not that moment, but over a period of time. Okay, I got to jump to something right now.
Okay.
And this is this was an aha moment with me. And just to jump into the whole controversial thing, I remember back when the George Floyd murder, and let me say that in a correct manner, when it happened and when it hit, man, Eddie, as the old white guy, okay, I'm hearing all of the comments coming over the news. Of course, all of the people that I know, they all had comments. Everybody had a different perspective of what really happened and why it happened and who should be prosecuted and whose fault it was, all of this stuff coming. And I remember saying to my wife, there's only one person I know of that I can really call and get the right perspective concerning what happened to George Floyd. And I remember calling you.
I will never forget it. We had a good conversation and I was saying a whole bunch of controversial statements at the time. I don't think there's a better way to go about it, right? As far as like before there was any judgment or even an opinion formulated on the situation, it was like, hey, let me go check a resource, right? Let me go see how somebody that I know, that I love, that I care about feels about the situation before I say anything out loud. And I think that's in itself was super powerful.
There's a Z-bomb again. Boom. Somebody write this stuff down because I'm telling you, he said there shouldn't be any judgments, no comments, nothing like that coming from us until we go to the right resource. Problem is, Eddie, most people go to a resource that they believe is going to agree with them or confirm their judgment rather than maybe giving them education. So I call you up and you start telling me what it's like to be a Black man and what it was like growing up being a Black man. Do you remember the stories you told me?
It still happens now, right? I literally this week, I told you the whole situation about the car. I'm still dealing with the car. And just yesterday, I was in an auto body shop. The guy was telling me, this is not going to be one of those, the customer is always right type of shops. But what if the customer is right, And every single time they would interrupt me, I would let them speak. They would say their whole story. And every time I opened my mouth, it became your tone, you're being so aggressive, and I'm like, dude, like I'm a big guy, right? Like I haven't raised my voice. If I raised my voice, the people in the other building would be able to hear us, right? And the fact that you're here across on the other side of this table telling me whatever you're telling me, it's wild. And I always try to remember, my mom tells me, like, as a Black man, you can never lose your cool because it's not perceived the same way. We're like over aggressive, over sexualized, over everything just becomes like the extreme and there's no way to change it. Even here at my school, right? Medical school, and we want to be inclusive, right? If we have some people that are from the LGBTQ community, like we want to know about their backgrounds. At least I have to know about you so I can help you. They teach us all these, like the slang, and they teach us how to identify and the right questions to ask. We talk about race, but in comparison, I personally think very like small, because I think as a doctor, if you came into my doctor's office and you happen to be gay, I can't know just from looking at you. But if you come in my office and you're Black, there's no denying it. I think we should be versed in that. And I don't think we're there yet. But when the George Floyd thing happened, there was a lot of emotions because, especially in Sacramento, we had Stephon Clark before that. And it was just like this string of situations. But I personally felt, and I was telling you something along the lines of, if they kill me, don't march, no candlelight vigil, like go kidnap people and drop them from the Capitol, right?
Gotta say this. This was a big takeaway for me. We talked at least 2 to 3 hours on the phone. And I remember you're downloading your childhood and what your dad taught you. Ever pulled over by the police? Here's what you do. And here's your actions. And I'm listening to all of this. And obviously, I have no perspective of this. I never had that happen to me. Here was my takeaway from our conversation together. This was the question. Did you believe what Eddy told you? Do you remember that? Gary, do you believe his story? Do you believe he's just another Black guy exaggerating the situation? And so the only way that I could have ever changed was I had to believe your story. And I did. And I still do. And it affected me in such a powerful, powerful way. Now, let's jump to this. Ready? How about the rally that you and I went to in downtown Sacramento together? You brought it right to me and said, hey, listen, there's a rally downtown, man. If you want to go, you could. And I'm going, okay. And I'm thinking, well, who would I go with?
Right,
and then Eddy, and you guys got to know Eddy. I mean, this is a big man, but he's like a son to me. And I'm like a father to him. We have that relationship. So he goes, well, how do you come with me? Well, at the time I had gone through my knee surgery.
Right.
So I couldn't walk. I mean, I'm not a long distance, especially a rally. Right. So I think you said, well, man, we could maybe grab a wheelchair.
Right. Yep.
We got a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
I got in the wheelchair, and you, Eddy, pushed me down the middle of the rally. Here's this young Black guy pushing a white old guy in a wheelchair down the rally.
It's huge for me, right? Like you said, do you believe me? That's a lot of times that's just what anybody wants on the other side. Like when I'm telling you I'm hurting, when I'm telling you these things, do you believe me? It would be the same thing as a parent. Like I think I've told you the story about how I was in the classroom and I was like in the Future Farmers of America class with like the racist teacher. My dad is thinking, when he signs me up for the class, like it says applied science, and he's like, you're going to be in this one because the description is like this long. Well, we show up in Sheldon High School and like at that point in time, FFA doubles as like the science class. So I'm this Black kid that has allergies so bad that I can't even go to the pumpkin patch, right? Like literally snot coming from my nose. And it irritated my teacher literally. Like people are doing like for their projects, they're like raising cows and all these things like this. I can't even cut my own grass, right? That was my project and I suffered, right? But like, I'm telling my parents this. And even though, there was times that I got in trouble, right? Like, of course, I was in class talking. I talk so much, right? Like that's my thing. I'm a talker, right? And my parents believed me. They disciplined me in my own right? There was never like it was okay for you to talk in the classroom. Actually, I got in a lot of trouble with my dad, right?
Yeah.
But behind my back, without me knowing, my parents went up to the school because they believed me. And they had a meeting with the principals and the teacher because they believed me. And then the teacher got fired because we believed me. And did you know I actually met with this, she's a pediatrician at UC Davis. She said, if you get suspended one time from preschool to 12th grade, the chances of you going to jail increase by like 70%. And this lady used to suspend me left and right, like in the science class. And like, can you imagine if my parents never believed me and she could still do that? Like, would I be here in medical school?
Exactly.
Because that was science class and she was taking me out of it. And only my parents that believed me could put me in the position. And I don't think that enough people understand, like, they see this race thing happening, and all you have to do, like, if you believed, there would be ample opportunity for you to set these people up and like pull them away from the pain that they're having if you believe.
I think it kind of, for me anyway, as an old white guy, and I don't know what it is, Eddie, but you get to a certain age in your life and you start feeling somewhat invisible.
Right.
You know what I mean? You feel like, well, maybe I've outlived my time, and you start feeling some biases towards you, and you share your story, you share your feelings with people, and sometimes you feel like you're not being honored. In other words, they're just making you familiar. You're just
Right.
another familiar. There's no value. And I think that this whole idea of diversity and racism, it can reach into all kinds of arenas. And
Right.
I think the thing I love so much about you and I and our relationship is you and I've had talks, and you've said things to me that really have challenged a belief system that maybe I've had for 50 years about a certain situation. And because you say something, and at first I'm going, inside I'm going, because I don't really believe anybody anyway.
Yeah.
I am a doubter by nature. When somebody tells me something, I go, I don't think so. I've learned that when you believe, and it's even if they're not telling you the truth, even if they're not accurate in their truth, if you still believe them, it'll work itself out. It'll work itself out. Okay, now I'm going to switch gears with you again, my brother. Here we go, right? The next thing I hear, Eddie is going to medical school. And my heart melted because I said, that was the original. There was something original about your goal. Now, you did do a little sidebars, okay, all
Right.
the way, which
Right.
honestly, none of that was wasted because God doesn't waste anything in our lives. He
You're right.
uses everything. But here you are now in medical school. What was that journey?
I told you, 6 years old, wanted to be a doctor. I thought that being a pediatrician was cool. I had asthma, so I was always in the hospital, and it feels like fun to me. I mean, they have crushed ice, they have Sprite, like video games. I was like, this is the job, right?
It's beautiful.
But right when I was like a grandpa in football years, and after all my talks, and I remembered like, this is what I want to do. I think that it's like a little of both. Like, yes, determination, but I was so naive that I didn't understand how hard it was. And I just jumped in, right?
Eddie,
It's like,
it's medical school. Hello?
I know, but the blinders, because it never seems like completely out of my reach.
Well,
but
your parents are both educators as well, so you need to know that.
My dad is a teacher. My mom is a social worker for Child Protective Services. So it was like half professions that are like children, right? And then I jumped into it. Thank God that, I have a younger sister that started doing that before me, and I had football grades. I had to redo everything. They denied me twice. Finally got in there, did that. I think from the time, it was like 5 years that I was trying to get into medical school. 10 years from the time I graduated college to medical school. You know what I think is funny is I have a lot of my students, and they'll graduate from college and they'll be like 2 years out of college and go to medical school. And they'll be like, I'm so non-traditional. Like, I did so much life. I'm like, I've been to every club in Sacramento at least twice. You know what I'm saying? Like 3 times, like on a good year. So like, you telling me about the non-traditional situation is not a thing, but yeah, man, all the way to the point where I finally got in. And it's paid for.
Did you experience times where you were confused, you wanted to quit, you wanted to give up, it's not going to happen for me?
You know what's crazy, Gary, is that I'm here, and sometimes I think that. I made it to my destination, and sometimes I still think, am I supposed to be here? Like, is this really for me? Like, this person that's 10 years younger than me is like doing research, answering all their emails, and doing like this interest group. And I can't even figure out my class schedule. Like, am I supposed to be at school right now? So I think that, yes, it never goes away. It never becomes less scary. You just become more brave. When you're dealing with these things, anything that's scary in your life, like, they never go away. The feeling of self-doubt, it never goes away. The feelings of, am I going to make it? Is it going to be okay at the end of the day? it never disappears. It never like goes away from you. All it is you become bigger than it, right? You become more brave. You get stronger in that sort of weight room. When I take tests at medical school, let's say that the nervousness, it always creeps in. When it's, 72 hours before the test and I'm in this big classroom by myself going, oh my God, there's still 7 lectures left. But then it like clicks, like the braveness kicks in and it's like, no, like you are equipped to do this. You didn't get here on accident. Like you said, God uses everything and nothing is a mistake. And then you do it. And I'm 13 blocks in and 13 blocks past and 13 blocks braver.
This is so powerful because I'm telling you, I'm becoming the student now. You're my teacher because I know in my life, when COVID hit, I lost so much. I've gone through so many physical ailments. Last year was on my deathbed. Literally, the doctor said he's probably not going to make it through the surgery. It seems like every time I got up, it was another thing. And I kept going, I'm so tired of trying again. My faith is like a worn out blanket. It's just, there's just nothing left there. Right. It never goes away. It's there every single day. But you refer to it as a different kind of weight room.
Right.
All right. It's where you're growing muscles in a different way. And I remember this was a few days ago.
Right.
We've moved down to beautiful Bakersfield, California, which is everybody's vacation destination.
Rich.
I'm doing some maintenance around the house and I'm in my back. I have a little work area. And Eddy, this happened. I'm back there and I start going to that mental spiral because negativity doesn't understand how old you are. It doesn't deal with your age. It just goes after you. And I said, God, where are you? I mean, where are you? Speak to me. These are the words I heard from God. Gary, why don't you just shut up and go fix that pipe? Stop whining. Right. Go fix the pipe.
Yeah.
If you fix enough pipes, then you graduate from medical school. I think some people project so far out in the future that their fear rises up so much that they become paralyzed. And God can't do anything with quitting.
No.
He can with failing, but not with quitting. So, Eddy, I got to ask you this. You are now in medical school. You're going to be a doctor. I need you to get your degree before I'm dead.
I got it. I'm on my way. This is my sole mission.
I know. If you go after pediatrics, right, I actually will fall into that age group.
It's kind of the same thing.
It really is. I had somebody a while back say this to me. Gary, you are the oldest junior hire I have ever met.
It makes sense.
Here's how we move forward. I want you to leave our audience with just a real word of encouragement because people are listening. Some people feel like they're hitting a wall over and over and over again. They might feel discouraged. We don't know how many things these people are going through. And so many times in a podcast or in a situation like this, everybody's putting their best foot forward. And now I'm here and I've done this and I'm amazing. And we know that an hour from now, something could come and just grab our rear ends and take a chunk out. What's your departure on this for people who are listening?
I think for me, 2 things. Sometimes my faith is like an old worn out blanket. People don't realize like that old worn out blanket, like your old worn out blanket is so thick, right? It's been through so much that it can still cover you, right? Like you knew in that moment in your backyard, you went straight to the source, right? Which that's what we talked about before, going to like the right resource, getting the right information. I think about these, like new Christians and younger Christians, and you have that thick brand new blanket, right? The brand new blanket, it looks shiny and that faith in, but it's not tested. It's not worn. You don't know if it can last you through cold. You're going to look at the blanket and be like, dang, like, I don't know, but it's done 17 winters, right? 36 in my case, right? And I guess it like follows into my second point of what I wanted to say in like the weight room, right? Like bravery and all of that is a skill. If it's a skill, that means that you can learn it. And if you can learn it, that means you can become better at it. And so I know a lot of my classmates, they're like, oh, I can't wait to be out of medical school. Dang, can we just get to the next? Like, they're just trying to rush. And to me, I'm like, no, like, this is the learning space, right? this is where I learn how to be the really good doctor. This is where I learn how to be the really good husband. This is where I learn how later on in life, when everything is falling apart around me, remember on that day when you learned how to do this and think about how much better you are at it now. And so I think that what gives me peace, up and down. And they look at me and they think that I always have it together because there's never outward stress. It's literally tied to God and the fact that I know I didn't come here to be a doctor, but I will be a doctor. I'm going to learn a new skill, and it just keeps going on. So I think those are the two I would leave with you guys.
Oh, man. Eddy, the idea of the blanket being worn out, beat up, stained, the reason is because it was used. It's been used. And the other thing is that idea of bravery. Life's just a hobby unless it's been tested by the fire of opposition. I don't have the big close because I've been so deeply touched by today's podcast. And I can't wait to put this out to wherever out is, because it's not for everybody,
right,
but it's for somebody. It's for
right.
somebody. Eddy, Umeh, we're going to do this again. Have an amazing day. Thank you, my brother, so much. God bless you, man. Thanks for taking the time to listen to my podcast. If you have any questions about today's show or would like more information on how you can bring me to your next event, please reach out and I will be sure to get back to you ASAP. Till then, have a passion-filled day.